What's going on, guys? In today's video, we're going to be making hearts. So if you haven't already, you can download the hearts from the description of the video. These hearts were drawn by my wife, so I'm not a very good drawer, but yeah. So inside of the project, you just need to right click on the prefabs folder and create another folder, and you can just call it hearts. And then inside of that folder, you need to create another folder, and you can call that default heart, because there's going to be other types of hearts. So the default heart is actually not going to be the only type of heart. So in the game like The Binding of Isaac, there's like soul hearts, there's black hearts, there's like just a bunch of different types. We're only going to be dealing with the red heart today, but in future videos we might make the other hearts as well. So then after you've imported the hearts, you can go to the texture type at the top here and just change it to a sprite and just click apply on that. And then we're going to create a user interface. So the same way we created the map user interface, if you click this 2D button at the top, it will make your scene go to like a side view. And we're just going to take everything except for the UI and just hit this little eye icon on the left. That will hide it. And we need to do that for the main as well. And we just want only the UI to be visible. So we want to make a UI in the very top left corner. So inside of the canvas that we already have, let's just zoom out so we can see the whole thing. If you right click, you can create a UI panel, and we'll just call this panel hearts. And then we just want to, so in the top left corner where it says stretch and stretch, if you click on that and you press Alt and Shift, you can click the top left corner. This will anchor it to the top left corner. And then we want to shrink this down so it's not taking up this much room. So we want to make these pretty even numbers so we understand like how large it is. So probably like 200 or 500 in the width, and then maybe 200 in the height. So let's click back on the canvas and see how big that is. So in our game, probably even smaller than that. It probably doesn't even need to be that big. So let's go back to the hearts and we can just change this to maybe 100 in the height. Okay, that's perfect. And we are going to want to move it over because in our game, we're going to have an active item that's going to take up the top left corner. There's going to be like a slot here where there's going to be a top left corner. So we're going to take the position X and we're going to move it to, oh no, that's too much. Maybe 100 over. That's perfect. We are going to turn off the background of this panel at some point. We're not going to do it right now because we needed to see how big it is. It's important that you remember that the width is 500 and the height is 100 so that you could calculate how big you want the hearts to be based on the size of it. The calculation should be based on the size of this panel in case you decide you want to resize it later, or if you want to have an option to change the UI size, you should be able to change that in the settings, right? So it's important that we make the calculation for how big the hearts are going to be based on the size of the panel, not just a hard-coded number. All right, so then if we right click on hearts, we can add another panel to this. So click UI panel, and this is just going to be a heart, and we're going to be using this one as a template so we can see what it looks like when we put it there, right? So inside of this, we also want this to be in the top left. So inside of this, you press Alt and Shift and you double click on this thing, and yeah, now we have a panel inside of our panel, right? And we want to drag this heart N. You can name it something. It doesn't matter. You drag the heart onto the image. So you can see that this panel has taken the size of the other panel, and we don't want that. We want it to be 50 by 50, right? Because we want it to be about half the height in height, and then the width should be probably like 50. So let's just do 50-50. That way it's a square still, because remember our image is a square, so it needs to be a square in this too. So I think instead of doing 50 by 50, because then it will go directly to the top, this is going to really fill out this. I mean, the background's not going to be there, right? And then if you go to the color, just turn up the alpha because we want it to be 100% visible, not like 30% or whatever it was, right? So if we take the background of this canvas for a sec and we just turn it off, what does it look like? It's okay, but it should be maybe down from the top. So let's just put it back on for now. And then we're just going to move it down a little bit. So let's make it 45 by 45 so that there's like some space or whatever. And then we can move it down and left by 5, negative 5y, not positive 5, but plus 5y in the X. So 5 upwards and then 5 downwards and 5 to the right. So then we want to repeat this, right? So we're just using this as a template to know what the settings are going to be. So when we add another heart, it's going to be the position is going to be 50. So let's add another heart so I can show you. So if you press Control D, you could duplicate the heart, and don't just drag it over. Let's just change the numbers, right? So the width and the height are going to be the same, but the position X should be 50, right? Because this is 45 in size and there's 5 here. So the position should actually be 55. So it's 5 over from this one, right? So do 55, change it to 50 for a sec. Wait, let me do the math here. So this is 5 away from here and it's 45 in size, which means that this edge is 50 right here. But then this one, when we make it 50, there shouldn't be a gap there. It should just be touching. Oh, there's a gap here in the picture already. So we don't actually need to add the gap because the gap is already there in the picture. It's because there's a space. If you look at the actual picture, there's like a gap there. So let's actually, we don't need to make the first one have 5x from the side because it's already there. Like there's already a gap in the drawing. And then we could just make this one 45. So it's exactly, see what happens if we add a bunch of these. Hang on. So let's add this. So what if we change this one? So this one will be 90 then. And then this one would be 135. Yeah, if we keep going like that, so it looks like it will work like that. So we're going to be doing that. So we're actually going to just turn these off for right now, except for, yeah, just turn them off. And we need to make a script for the heart, right? So inside of the player folder, we're going to right click and create a new script. And we can just call this the heart script. Okay, so after you've made the heart script, we need to add some variables to the top of it. So there's going to be 3 sprites for the actual pictures of the hearts, right? So we should have a sprite for full heart, a sprite for half heart, and a sprite for an empty heart, right? So these are the 3 drawings that you downloaded from the description of the video, right? And then we need the panel that we're actually going to put the hearts in. So we need a game object, which is going to be the panel. So if you're looking in the left here, this panel, this white thing, this is where we're going to put the hearts. And then we have the 3 hearts that are the drawings that are in the thing. So let's go to the, we have to attach this to our player. So in the main folder inside of the scene, click on your character, and then we can actually just drag this script onto the character. Right, so now that we've dragged it onto the character, we need to drag the panel onto it. So just drag the hearts panel directly onto it. And then we need the 3 pictures as well. So if you go into the default heart folder that's inside of the prefabs, you can drag the heart into the full heart, the half heart into the half heart, and the empty heart into the empty heart. Okay, so let's just move these 2 methods down. So there's a start method and an update method. We're not going to be using them right now, and we're probably not going to be using the update method at all. But we just need to create a new method, which is going to be draw hearts. So it's going to be a public static void draw hearts. Now, the reason this is static is because we need to be able to access this from anywhere within the scene. So let's say an enemy damages your character or something, right? We want to be able to call this from the enemy script. We don't want to have to like get a reference to the script from like other scripts. So by making it static, you can actually just do this from anywhere inside of the entire project. And then these sprites are probably also going to need to be static, but let's just see if we can access them. But I think they have to be static as well. And then we're going to have to drag them in the initialized player. But let's just make this let's make this normal for right now, and we'll make it static after. So if anyone's following and they're not using my project, you should be able to follow this and make hearts work. And then if you want afterwards, I'll show you how we're going to be implementing it, because we're going to be saving the hearts in the player static class. Like the health will be saved in the player and then it'll be accessed via this. It won't be stored here, but we're just going to set it up normally first. And then afterwards, we'll set it up the way that we're actually going to be using it. We need to draw. So you see, we have this heart selected in the background, right? So we've got the UI heart. And this is the top left heart. So if we turn this back on, right, this is the one that's in the very top left. We just want to focus on just drawing this heart for right now, right? So in our game, we have these, but we're going to delete these before the game starts. So we need to create this from scratch, right? So we need to make a new game object, because that's what this is. It's a game object, right? So game object heart is a new game object. And I think in the parameters of the game object, you can name it by typing in so you could type in, so heart, we'll make it the name of it heart. We need to add this rect transform and the image to it. So first, let's just add the image. So image, and it's a Unity UI image, heart image gets new image. Yeah. So we just need to add the component while we're doing this. So we can do heart, add component, and then image. And then this image will be this component that we're adding to the game object, right? And then the heart image sprite is going to be full heart. Just for right now, this isn't actually how this is going to work, but I'm just showing you how to draw one heart, because in order for us to draw multiple hearts, we need to draw one heart first. The transform, we're also going to steal this from the other script. We can just steal this whole thing, just put it here. So this will be heart. And we're just going to get rid of Actually, let's get rid of this for right now, and we'll just leave it as that. So the size delta is a new vector 2, and this is taking the level height and the level width. Obviously, we don't want that. We want this to be based on the size of the panel, like the heart panel that we have, right? So if we type in panel.height or panel.get component, it's going to be the rect transform delta. Okay, so what we need to do, because the size delta is like the actual size, so like the X and the Y of like this actual panel, right? So the height of it would be the size of a heart as the size of it divided by 2, right? So size delta dot Y divided by 2 can be the height. That's actually the second field. And then the first field can be the same thing, but it will be the X, and it's going to be divided by 10 because there could be 10 hearts going across it. So let me just open paint because hopefully I didn't lose anyone. So we have this panel, right? And it is 500 in the X and 200 in the Y. And we're drawing a heart here, right? I know you guys love my drawings. And we're drawing a heart here, right? So we want the size of X to be, because there could be up to 10 hearts. So there could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? There could be 10 of these hearts. So we want the width of one heart to be the X divided by 10, which is 50, which is what we made it 45 in this corner, but it's not going to matter. We could make it smaller. It doesn't matter. We're just going to make it 50. It's fine. So this will be 50 in the X, and then the Y will be the height, which is 200 divided by 2. So this will make the height 100. The height can't be 100. It needs to be the same as the... So instead of doing this, let's just do this again. So let's just take these, because they have to be the same, right? It's a square. The picture that we drew of a heart is a square. So instead of getting the Y to be like half of this or whatever, right? We can just use the same number because it's a square. So it'll still be 50. So 50 by 50. So then the position of this right now we've determined is 0 in the X and -5 in the Y. Now this is going to put it like it's going to be a little bit bigger than the one that's here. And you'll just have to keep in mind, we're going to be getting rid of the background color of the panel. So it's not really going to matter. And then we want to set the parent of this image to be the panel. So this object is going to be a sub object of this panel, and it's the transform of the panel because the panel is a game object. So we just want to draw one heart. So we're going to deactivate the heart that we have active right now because we're just using that for demonstration, right? And then we're going to just call this in the start method. So we'll just call draw hearts here. Okay. And the next problem that we have is we need to anchor this in the top left. So right now this one got spawned, but if you don't set the anchoring, it will just spawn in the center middle. This was fine for the map, but it's not fine for our hearts. So we need to set pivot 0xy1. Yeah, I think that's it, right? Rect transform dot pivot is equal to vector 2, sorry, new vector 2, and it's going to be 0,1. Okay, and it's actually not the pivot that we need to do. It's the anchor min, which is it's a vector 2, and it should be 0,1, I think. And then the anchor max, which is the same. Okay, and we actually need to do a combination of both of them. So we need to do, the pivot does have to actually be set as well, it looks like. So you've got to set the pivot to the same thing. So new vector 2, 0,1. Okay, so now we have a heart that's drawn on our canvas, right? It's 50 by 50. And this is how we're going to draw the hearts on the thing, right? So every time you get hit or your health changes, you'll be able to call this function to draw the hearts, okay? So, but this is just one heart. So we're going to change the name of this function. It's not going to be draw hearts. It's just going to be draw heart, and it's going to take an input, okay? So the input is going to be what type of heart it is, sprite type. So like half heart, full heart, empty heart, and then the number. Okay, so this is the type and this is the number. Okay, so when we're drawing the hearts, let me just erase this. It's going to be like this, right? So these are the hearts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 10, right? This will be 11, 12, 2, 20. 20 is going to be the max number of hearts for right now. That's just for this example. You can always change it, but this is what we're going to be doing. So yeah, that's how the hearts are going to work. So we only need the type and the number. So because this draws one heart, instead of calling draw hearts, we're just going to call draw heart. And then the type is going to be full heart. And then the number is going to be 0 because 0 base. So go between 0 and 19. So we want to type in type here instead. And then the position is going to be based on the number. So the position will factor into not the size, but position. Yeah, right here. So position. So the float X pos is going to get the number times 50 because it's 50 in size, right? Actually, it should be this same calculation, the size delta divided by 10, right? So this is 50, right? So like the size, but if we resize this, it needs to be the same. So it should grow. If we make this panel bigger, this should affect this formula so that the hearts are always the right size, regardless of like what we do, right? So the number times that, but if the number is greater than 9, so 10 through 19 are going to be the second row. So if num is less than 9, or less than or equal to 9, then this is the position, right? And we need to declare xpos up here and then set it here. So else, if it's greater than 9, it would be this, but number minus 9. So like if the number is 10, then it should be 1, right? And we're going to set the ypos, oops, to be 5 by default, or sorry, -5 because it's down 5. But if we're in the second row, we need to say ypos is equal to -5 minus this. Sorry, just this portion. So we have -5 for like the distance from the top from the initial, but then this is the size of another heart. And then we should -5 again so that there's a 5 gap in between this row and the bottom row. So hopefully that makes sense. And then what we can do is, this is not going to be the final result of this, by the way, so just so you know, but for int I is 0, I is less than 19, sorry, I is less than 20, plus plus I, the I plus plus, and then we'll put I here. So we're going to try to draw full hearts for all of, like, we're going to try to draw 20 hearts, and this should draw 20 hearts, and they should be in like the standard, what if you had all the hearts, like the maximum number of hearts, and this should be how it works. So let's see. Okay, so we didn't apply the position, so it drew all the hearts, but it didn't actually apply it. So we set the position here, but we didn't actually set the position here. So the position should be xpos and ypos. Okay, so now if we run it again, we should have all the hearts in the thing. Okay, so we're really close, but it looks like this one started 1 over. So this only went up to 9, and then this started at like, I don't know. So we need to, let me just revisit this for a second. Hang on. So while it's less than equal to 9, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So then 10 is starting here, but the first one should be 0. So like the very first one shouldn't, oh no, sorry, that's the ypos. Number minus 9. The number should be minus 10, shouldn't it? Because if it's the first one, the number could be 0 again, right? So it should be minus 10. That's the problem. Let's run it again. Perfect. So this is exactly what we were looking for. And now what we want to do is we want to move it up again. I think the -5 is not necessary. Let's just get rid of this -5. So the second row is a little bit closer. And then we're going to turn off the background for the hearts because we are only using this to kind of eyeball what it looks like, right? So let's click on this and just turn off the background. And let's hit play again. This is excellent. So this is exactly what we were looking for. And then there's space for like a item or something here, which we would have like an outline square or something, which would make it look better. It looks kind of plain like this. You could move them all the way over if you want to. Just don't put any like gap. Like you could just move this entire panel to the left if you want to. Like instead of having position X 125, you could do 0 if you want to and put it in the very top left. It's up to you. It doesn't really matter, right? So let's go back. So now this is still not how we want this to work, right? So we want to draw hearts based on how much health the character has. So this is how you can draw hearts, but we need to determine what is the character's health and what is their maximum number of hearts. So I'm using a static class for my player. If you've been following my video or my video series, you should have this class, right? If you haven't been following my series, you should still make a static class. Is still the best way to do it. So if you right click somewhere in the open space at the bottom, you could create a C# script, name it player, right? And then instead of having it inherit from mono behavior, because usually when you make a class, it starts out like this, right? So just change it so that it's a static class and it doesn't need to be attached to any game object. It's just like a class that we're using for settings. We're going to be adding health to this, okay? So we're going to leave these things at the top, but right below them, right below speed, actually, this is a great spot for it right here. We're going to have public static int. And this is going to be the player's health, which is their current health, right? And it's going to start at 3. And then we're going to have another static. Sorry, it's got to be a float, not an int, because there's decimal places. So we can have a public static float for the max health, and we'll set that to 3 as well. So what we'll do is if the max health is like 4, right, then it should draw 3 hearts and an empty heart at the end. So first it will draw all the full hearts, then it will draw all the half hearts if there is a half heart, and then it will draw all the empty hearts. Okay, so now that we have the health values, the way that it works is when we want to damage our player or when we want to increase our player's health, all we have to do is change these numbers, and then we'll call a method inside of our hearts class, which is going to be static. We're not going to be setting it to static yet. We'll probably do it right at the end of the video, but this is getting pretty long. So we need another method. So we have draw heart, which draws 1 heart, which you depict here, right? But we need another method that takes the player's health and calculates how many hearts should actually be drawn and draws them, right? So let's create a public void and we'll call it draw hearts. And what we need to do now is for int I is 0, I is less than player dot health I plus plus. So this is only going from I is 0 and I is less than player health. So let's say the player has 2.5 health, right? Because 2.5 is not a full number, I is an integer, so this will get casted to an integer. So if, like, let me just write this down. So if I is if the player health is 2.5 right now, right, casting it to an integer will actually make it 2 because it always rounds down. It truncates the number that's after it. So we're only like, so if the health is 2.5, we're actually going to do this example right now. So let's just set the player health to 2.5. So if the player's health is 2.5, this will draw 2 hearts. So we're going to use the same method here to draw these 2 hearts, and they're going to be full hearts, right? So first we draw the full hearts. And let me get rid of this start method. In the start method, we're going to be calling this draw hearts method. So then we want to draw the half hearts, okay? So we need to check if I modulus 1 is 0. So we're checking if there's a remainder on I modulus 1, right? So if I modulus, which is the percentage, if I not I, what am I talking about? Player.health modulus 1 is 0, is not equal to 0. So if there is a remainder that's not 0, then we're going to draw 1 half heart because there can only ever be one, like a half heart at once, right? So we're going to draw a half heart, and the position we're going to draw it at is going to be the player.health plus 1, and we're casting this to an int again. So let's just put an int cast here. So because the player health is 2, right? So this number is 2, and we're drawing it in the 3rd slot. So this doesn't cover empty hearts yet. But if we do this, it should actually draw 2.5 hearts because we're not drawing an empty heart at the end yet. So let's run this and see if it works. Okay, so this actually did it wrong. So it drew 3 hearts and a half heart at the end. So we don't want that. Let me just read this again. Hang on. So I is 0, I is less than player health. It should be player health minus 1 because 0, 1, 2, that's 3, right? And player health is 3. So we're just going to be setting it to that. And then this should also be, I don't think we need to do plus 1 here. We just need to do player health. Yeah, so that's working how we want it. And now we just need to handle empty hearts. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do is we're actually going to set our player's maximum health to 4. And then we're just going to leave the health at 2.5. So there can be 1 extra heart at the very end so that there can be an empty heart, right? So then we just want to draw all the empty hearts. So for int I is equal to player health. I is less than player.max health. Sorry, this should be a float. So I is equal to player health. So if the health is 2 plus I, so then we want to just draw hearts, and we can just put I, and then it should be empty heart. Okay, and then I will always be an integer because we need to pass an int into the thing. So this will never be a decimal place. So this should draw correctly unless I've done this wrong. So let me just think about this. So player health is 3.5, or sorry, 2.5. So that means, no, this should be an integer. We need this to be an int. Int I is equal to player health, and we just need to cast this to an int so that it will be 2. So 0, 1, 2. So it'll be the third slot. So the health will be 2, but it'll be the third slot. And then I is less than equal to player max health. So that's 4. So this should be -1 because 4, it's a 0 base. So it needs to be 1 over. So this should work. Let's just run it and see what happens. I'm pretty sure this is the correct math. So let's just see. Okay. So we have 2.5 health and we have an empty heart. So this should work. We're going to also put an obnoxiously high number as well to see how that goes. So if the max health is 20 and we have 15.5 hearts, then this should still work technically. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, this is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and a half hearts. So this is how you can draw hearts in your game. It's actually pretty simple. All right, guys, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. In the next video, we're going to be adding animations to the hearts. So when you get hit, there should be some type of animation showing that like the heart enlarges and then explodes, or something fancy to actually show that you're getting hit. The heart shouldn't just be like appearing like that. It's just kind of boring like that. So we're going to be adding animations to the hearts in the next video, and we're also going to make it so that you can call the method. Right now it's not static. We want to make this static, so we can call heart script dot draw hearts from anywhere inside of the project, right? So just like we've been doing with the other static scripts in the project, we're going to be doing that as well. But yeah, that's going to be it for the day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.